of the LCs, that's LC1 and LC2, expired on 10th July this year, and there has been a debate as to what happens next. And this is one of the issues that we discussed following a presentation by the Honorable Attorney General, and we did approve the proposal that he tabled before Cabinet. I just want to state that the Local Government Council regulations in the third schedule to the Local Government Act provide for the Minister of Local Government to and particularly in section 175 to make regulations and amend the schedules to the Act, and the amendment may include that with the prior approval of Cabinet, which approval we gave yesterday, that he can extend, renew, reinstate or validate the term of office of the administrative unit councils from 5 years for a further period not 180 days at a time, notwithstanding that the term may have expired. So in other words, the regulations developed to operationalize the Local Government Act give powers to the Minister of Local Government to seek approval of Cabinet and then later lay the schedule before Parliament for approval. So what was done yesterday is that a proposal was made to Cabinet to extend the life of the local councils for a period of 180 days, and the Cabinet approved that proposal. But then what follows next is that we shall have to seek approval, and once the statutory instrument has been laid in the Parliament and it is approved, then the Minister of Local Government will issue a notice to the public, a notice of the extension of the term of the local councils. So for now, that's how we are going to proceed, that the Cabinet endorsed the proposal that we extend the term for 180 days, because that's what the law provides for. And then we shall lay the statutory instrument in Parliament for approval, and once it has been approved, then the Minister of Local Government will issue a notice. And this notice or this extension will be retrospective, take effect. Any action that would have been done or taken by the local councils from the date when their term expired. So I thought I should give you that briefing to know how we are proceeding, and then the matter will be sorted out. Then in the 180 days, government can organize itself to see how we can conduct election in the public as regards the local councils. So this decision therefore means that the local government councils 1 and 2 should remain in office as we conclude this process, which began with the approval of the Cabinet of Uganda, to that effect. So that's the brief I wanted to give you. I will entertain any questions, comments on this issue or any other matter that you may want to raise that needs clarification from government. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And then, yes, question.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Paul Chimerubali Munsi. I work for Bukede Radio.
You are almost like Bariomus.
I work for Bukede Radio. Now, I want you to explain to us what happens to the LCs, because we've seen some LCs after the lapse of their term. There are those who picked up their instruments of power, like the staff and maybe the guidelines that took them back, that they had only thought for 5 years in office. What will happen to such villages where the LCs have given up with power? And they are saying their term is over, they don't want an extension.
Well, if we shall take it as a resignation, you know, when you hold the public office, you always have the liberty and the freedom to resign. So if they resign, then the vice chairpersons will take over the office, and then we shall arrange either through the general election or a by-election in that LC. Yes.
Good morning, Honorable Minister.
Yes.
My name is Ivan Kawa.
Yes.
I work for UBC. I have two questions. The first one regarding the construction of the railway along Namanga, where people are claiming that they were evicted without compensation, and most of them are currently sleeping outside. We want an update from government. Have you already allocated the monies for compensation for those people? Then it appears like the private media houses have started real boycotting government communique. What is your stand as government in that specific matter?
Okay. The issue of those who have been evicted to pave way for renovation of the railway line, I think to be compensated, you must be a bona fide occupant of the land. I hope we are not referring to encroachers, because there are people who have been even selling items on the rails themselves. But if they are all those who are in the reserves, those have to be evicted. But if they are bona fide occupants of land that is adjacent to the railway line, then they will be entitled to compensation. I will need to speak to the Minister of Lands as well as Minister of Transport. Compensation has been provided. But if they are genuine claimants who are affected by them, so that we just want to give them assurance that if they are genuine claimants, but if they are just encroachers who are just doing business on the railway line themselves itself, then those I don't think they deserve. But the genuine ones will definitely be compensated. I will need to get updates from the responsible ministries to see how far they have gone in processing that, because compensation requires prior activities which involve valuation, to evaluate and give the value to their property and what they should be compensated for before we can reach that stage of compensation. Now, the issue of the private media boycotting government activities, I hope some of you are from the private media, because because I think the origin of that is that the president wrote a directive instructing government departments and agencies to give all the adverts through UBC as a way of enhancing, and in the interpretation by the private media, they seem to have taken it that it means they will not get any support from government. We have been discussing it as a means of broadcasters. I don't think it is a sign of wisdom, functions of government. unless they also say we should boycott the discussions which we are having. So to have a meeting with them on the 10th of August. So if there are discussions, because we have been discussing with NAB with a view without injuring the interests of the private media. That's the discussion, the engagement we've been having. We wouldn't want arm twisting, blackmail. Let's have that discussion, that dialogue. But I don't think it is something wise that you go into direct confrontation with the government. First, if I have an advert, you can't force me to give it to you, but we can discuss and see how we can work together like we have always worked. But we don't usually entertain arm twisting and blackmail as government. But the discussion is on, and therefore it would be premature for the private media to start boycotting when we are having discussions and we have not disagreed in the discussions. So therefore, going forward, the directive was to the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, and I know we have had meetings with the private actors. The Prime Minister has also engaged. We put in place a committee to study the directive by the President, make proposals and recommendations, which we are yet again to discuss, and then the recommendations shall be given to the President to see how we can operationalize this guidance from the President. So it is always good manners that when you are discussing and finding a way of working out that kind of guidance, then you don't go behind and start saying, issuing threats. No, we shall discuss and find a common ground, because the NRM government is the very one which liberalized the media space in Uganda to allow private actors to engage in media practice. And therefore it cannot be the same government that can wish to support the private media. So we are discussing to see how do we support UBC, but at the same time we accommodate and address the interests of the private media, which interests include economic and financial interests. So there should be no crisis at all, in my view. Yes, good morning, how are you?
Good morning,
Good
Honorable
morning.
Minister.
Yes.
My name is Namteri Morin from CCTGF. At the moment, we have the Russian Africa Economic Summit taking place in St. Petersburg. How is this significant to the East African region? And also, recently Russia halted the flow of grains to Africa, Middle East and Asia. How is this being addressed by the government? Thank you.
Uganda affects what happens elsewhere. Similarly, what happens in Russia affects us. And we all know that there has been war, and there is still war and conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which conflict has drawn attention to the international community with the world getting divided, a section supporting Russia, others supporting Ukraine, and our view as Africa, our view as Uganda has been that this conflict should be resolved not militarily but through round table discussions and negotiations to resolve the impasse. And that's why you have seen a delegation of African leaders, including our own leaders in Uganda, participate in that kind of engagement, Russia and Ukraine. So the summit taking place is extremely essential because we would want peace to prevail in that part of the world. We also know that we depend on imports from different countries, and especially like grain and grain-related products that we from Russia and Ukraine area. You remember at the beginning of the conflict, and the war, we had a shortage of materials, ingredients for making bread, for instance, because wheat and other related grains come from that part of the world. And the price of bread and the other related products went high because of that war. And also the prices of other items like fertilizers and many other products which we get from that end. Therefore, it's extremely important that we see an end to this conflict. We see normalcy returning in this part of the world so that the imports which we get as Africa and as Uganda from this area can start flowing, and then that definitely will stabilize the prices. It will be part of the answer to the inflation which we have been seeing in our community, which is imported inflation because of that conflict. So we have very strong interest in the stability of that region because of the effects that conflict has caused, not only in Africa, but particularly in Uganda and East African region. There's a hand there.
Do you have any final question? Honorable Minister, I'm called Nelson Keeper. I work with the New Vision. I'm taking you back to the issue of LC. As cabinet, did you consider the issue of urgency here? Because now the question is, before these instruments are issued, what happens now? What happens? Then on top of that one, when should we expect the draft of these instruments to be tabled before Parliament? And after the extension of 180 days, what happens? Did you discuss the issue of elections? Will funds be in place? What will happen? Thank you.
Thank you very much. If somebody takes us to court, if anybody takes us to court, General will represent the government, and most likely we shall win the case. So we are not very worried about anybody going to court. Well, of course the option would have been carry out elections immediately. But you see, carrying out elections is a process. You cannot say, let's do elections tomorrow. You have to prepare many things. That's why we said in the interim, let's approve this extension, and then the government will prepare itself. If we get resources, then we can arrange for elections. And if we don't, then we shall see how to proceed. So we didn't delve into what happens after the 180 days. We just said, let's first do the extension. 180 days means like 6 months. Then within 6 months, we shall then organize ourselves as government. But
Thank you so much.
why would anybody go to court?
Definitely.
Is there a crisis? Is there a big crisis? The drafts. I think this week they should be ready because it's not something complicated. Yes. This week, the Office of the Attorney General should be in touch with the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk of Parliament to arrange when we can have an instrument laid in the Parliament. I think this week.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Before the rain forces us into boycott, we should go into Uganda.
Uganda, yes.
And then boycott after the press conference.
Okay. Njagala kubebaza olwaleero ne abamawulire twazze wano nga bulitudde mu cabinet jo Monday mu State House Entebbe ngu President Yoweri Museveni ngu ye akikiridde akulidde olukiiko nga chairman etuteesa ku bintu eby'enjawulo. Ekikulu ekimu kinjagala kubabuulira, twayogedde ku nsonga yaba LCs kubanga tumanyi nti ekisanja kyaba LC 1 ne LC 2 kiweddeko kya expirinze enaku 10 mwezi gw'omusanvu. Kati Attorney General Ssaabawolereza wa gavumenti wa LCs bawe enaku 18. Kati bw'amaze kukola ekyo kati awo Minister wa Local Government ajja kufulumya ekiwandiiko notice in public ng'ayo ekisanja ekyaba LCs. Kati awo kitegeeza nti ba LCs baffe babeere mu ofiisi ng'bakola balindire tumalirize prosesi. Ate bw'olwo tumaze okufulumya ekiwandiiko kijja kutegeeza nti ttaamu yaabwe ejja kuba etandika enaku 10 ogw'omusanvu. Kitegeeza nti byonna bye bakola amateeka gajja kuba gabikiriza kuyisaamu notice eya Minister wa Local Government bamaze kugifulumya. Mwebale nnyo, mwebale ddala. Okay, waliwo ebbaluwa President yawandiika ng'esaba aba gavumenti nti adverts zonna tuziweereze efuna sente, naye mwe yaba private ne mugamba nti lwaki gavumenti eyagala kutujjako business. Kati tubadde mu nteesa kubanga si ndowooza ya gavumenti nti aba private tibave mu business oba tukole ekintu ekibakosa. Kati tubadde tuteesagana n'aba private ne Prime Minister masinkana, basabye n'okusinkana President nakkiriza agenda kubasinkana ennaku 10 mwezi ogujja ogw'omunaana. Naye lwaki mulangirira boycott ate ngo tuli ku meeza tuteesa? Nga gavumenti tetusanyukira erya blackmail ne arm twisting, kubanga oba olina omuntu muteesa waliwo ensonga mundi muteesagana ate ki oyite emabega n'ogamba kale nja ku boycottinga ebya gavumenti. Ate ffe singa tugamba naffe tugenda ku boycottinga ebyammwe nga private, awo tekiyamba muntu yenna. So tukyali mu nteesagana okulaba engeri gye tusobola kuyamba UPC naye ne private players nazo nezifuna business. Ate nakakola nkiiko n'aba NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, bakasinkana ne Prime Minister. So tewali crisis. Kati mwe aba private sector temukozinga crisis ate kuteriiwo. Sirowooza nti kyamagezi okuteekako entalo ne gavumenti ku ssaawa eno kubanga entalo tezeetaagibwa. Ensonga eyo eri mu ddiiro, tuli ku meeza tuteesegana, tugezaako okulaba ebbaluwa ya President tusobola kugiteeka mu nkola, naye netulaba nti ne interests n'ensonga ez'aba private sector nazo tuziaccommodatinga. Yenteesagana eriwo. So ekya boycott siraba lwaki mulowooza mu kya boycott ate gavumenti ekyagamba nti katuteese tulabe engeri zisobola kututwala mu maaso. Kati ttaamu oba ekisanja ky'aba LCs kyagwawo ennaku 10 kati kyetusaba aba LCs babeere mu ofiisi nga bakola. Kati tutandise process eyokulaba nti etaamu tugyongeza. Step esooka cabinet kukkiriza, kati jo twakkiriza. Step eyokubiri okuleeta ekiwandiiko mu parliament n'ekikiriza. Bwe emaze kukikiriza kati awo Minister wa Local Government na issuing a notice the public. Kati notice tujja kugiwandiika mu ngero nti etaamu enaku tujja kutandika okubala okuva 10 ogw'omusanvu. So kitegeeza nti aba LCs bye bakola bijja kuba validated and bijja kuba lawful. So tewali crisis, tewali kizibu. Kati ba LCs bona abegwanga babere mu office babere ne stamp babere ngo bakola mu nakuntono kijja kuba tukimaze kyesuubira nti ali kumpi kumala weekend lwajja kugenda mu parliament kigwe tulabe nti aba LCs baffe bagende mu maaso. Waliwo abuulizizza nti waliwo ba LCs bakooye obagamba tebali baagala emyaka 5 nti stamp bazikomyawo oba abamanyi oba kiri theoretical naye ng'ogikomyawo tukitwala nti oba oresigninze mu public office oliwo buyinza kugivaamu ng'oba tokyagala naye tewabeerawo vacuum kubanga chairman abeera ne vice naye tusobola bwa resigninga awo kitegeeza tusobola kukola by election oba tulindirire general election tufiiringa position naye sirowooza nti bangi nti baagala kufuluma nubwo bangu tamu te experience gwe oyagala ku resigninga olina obuyinza ku resigninga gwe oyagala naye sirowooza nti kinene nnyo nti bantu bangi nti banyiivu kubanga etamu eweddewo. So any other issue, I think that's it. LCs. Which one? Which one?
Extended.
Bulijjo etamu weegwako tukola obululu naye etamu eweddeko mutetona bakutegeka obululu bw'aba LCs. Ensonga nagiba waluli n'agamba nti twali tunoonya ssente ate ssente twagala zibeere mu parish development model. Kati gwobeera n'obululu bwa LCs ne ssente ez'okugya abantu mu bwavu ate ku ssente si nnyingi ng'okola priority. Fenga gavumenti twagamba priority ya kuteeka ssente mu parish development model naye obululu tujja kubutegeka naye si kati. Nibwogamba nti tugende mu kalulu tosobola kubeera mu kalulu enkya oba wiiki enkya kyetaaga kutegeka. Netugamba kale amateeka gatukiriza tusobola kwongezaayo etaamu ennaku 18 kati gyetusazeemu nga cabinet katuzongeze then tudeyo tutegeke tulabe oba tusobola kufuna ssente tukole akalulu oba ensente teziwera tujja kusalamu kubanga amateeka gakkiriza tosobola ku extendinga ennaku 18 at a time. Kitegeeza nti ne extension gwebe egulewo government gwebe eyagala esobola kukola extension endala naye tubigenzemu tujja kusooka tu extending then tulabe oba tufuna ssente tusobola kutegeka akalulu k'aba LCs naye for now ekiriwo kya extension ya myezi 6 tulange for that. Yes, the term of LCs is 5 years and it expired and we have not for the parish development model which we had pledged in our manifesto to capitalize the parish circles to the tune of 100 million shillings per parish and every parish, like I announced last time in Uganda, with the exception of 9 which had some administrative issues, every parish has received their 100 million and therefore we opted to prioritize PDM and we did organize elections for the local councils. That doesn't mean that the elections are not important, no. But for now, we have decided to extend the term period of 180 days. We shall organize and see whether we can get enough resources to organize elections, or if not, the law still allows for a further extension of 180 days. But for now, we have not gone into what happens after 180 days. We shall now use the time of extension to organize and see how we move next.
Thank you so much, my Minister.
With that, the rain is saying we stop here.
But I borrowed 2 minutes of yours, Nyoro and Shinyanko, I shall do it from inside, from the small boardroom. and then we finalize this.
I can do it here, the rain comes.
From inside, can we do from just a bottle for on an interview for Windoro?
Okay.
Yes.
Nataka lugha ya Kiswahili. Yes.